Welcome back to the Oh my god, that's a tongue twister. Welcome back to the matchup catch up.
You got it.
I'm here with our one and only beloved commissioner Jimmy Mack,
What's up,
and
fellas?
we're here to talk some shit about the Haram Bowl. First of all, Jimmy, what happened with last week's podcast? People want to know.
I recorded it, but I forgot to press the button where it picks up other audio. So the whole thing is just me. You can only hear me, and yeah, it's not great. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. So
Well, not ideal. I did hear that Chris kind of piped you down about a certain trade you made. I heard there's a rumor that maybe you didn't want the people to hear the tongue lashing you took for a trade you may have made. Is there any truth to this claim?
I mean, he got on me about a few trades. To be honest, it wasn't just limited to one. So uh, it's not that. Well, I mean, I can't even hear it, so I had to listen to it back, and I was like, it's just me. So like, we'll never know what he said.
Would you ever release the audio of just you?
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. If the people really wanted it, then perhaps.
All right, all right. All good. So we are gonna, just for our listeners, we're gonna go back to a very brief recap of last week, and then we are gonna talk some trades that went down at the trade deadline, and then jump into this week. It's gonna be a longer one. Crack an extra beer, smoke an extra joint. Bobby Digi, get an extra Adderall on you. Whatever you got to do.
He needs
Yeah,
those.
without further delay, we're gonna
Actually, I'm gonna grab my weed pen. 1 second, but you keep going.
we're gonna jump into week 11. Last week's matchups. We're just going to go real quickly here. We're not even going to open it up. First up on the top here, it was me and Moisty, and Moisty kind of cock-slapped me.
He did.
Enough said there. Next matchup, we had our beloved co-host Jimmy Mack versus Coop Soap in the Battle of the Bottom, the battle for the basement. The battle to see who has the right to get their haircut essentially over the next year. And I've heard you've gone and got a preemptive haircut, Jimmy. Is this true?
I have it booked for Saturday, just to be sure.
That you know
Saturday,
what?
1:30. It's happening.
That's just good planning.
Might just take it down to the wood. I don't know yet.
Yeah, give yourself some options. You're gonna have lots to play with by the end of the year.
That's true.
We got our boy Ray Ray and Chris in a battle that was probably closer than it should have been. Chris, with that scraping by mentality, gets the W. Much needed, dealing with a lot of injuries over there. Bobby Digital put his nuts all over Bree's nuts in that one. Again, another basement dweller. That one went just about as expected. Speaking of putting nuts on people, Nakatomi Plaza, Logan, Walkie Talkie Diehard, Cunt, whatever you want to call him, mushroom slapped Brock.
He did.
Pretty much what you'd expect from a 1 versus 8 seed. And then this was, I believe, the 2 versus 3 seed or 3 versus 4 seed matchup.
This was the tightest one of the week, for sure.
And the closest in the standings. And the Stingrays came out with a win there. Yeah, this squad just keeps chugging along and sitting nice and pretty in second seat. So that's about all on that week. And I don't think too much more needs to be said. Short-term memory, I can barely even remember what happened fantasy that week for big scores and whatnot. And you know what? We'll never know.
It would take far too long for us to go through week 11 and week 12. Like, this thing would be 2 hours long. We don't need that.
Yeah. Highlights of that week, I remember from watching football, were the Patriots suck. And the Giants miraculously got a win with Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know. Maybe he's the new him.
Maybe he is. I mean, he had 3 touchdown passes in that game. Didn't he set a Giants rookie record?
That's damn near him status, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyways, so the fact that we're talking about Tommy DeVito means we need to skip past that week and let's go to some trades.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we're gonna go back a little past the trade week deadline, just because there's one trade in there that I feel is relevant to bring up. There's no small amount of irony in it, and sorry, I'm just having a hard time
Believable.
finding it.
So much suspense.
I'm sorry, I'm looking league transactions, all trades here. October 31st, so that's way too far back.
This is a professional operation we're running, fellas.
Very professional. Do not change the channel.
I'm gonna be fucking drunk by the time you find it.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start off going all the way back to November 12th. Pretty big trade with Ray shipping off Derrick Henry for Zach Charbonnet and 2024 third. That projects to be a fairly early third, but a third still.
Yeah.
And it's a move that makes sense for Ray. Henry's getting near the end of his run, and I think Ray's finally seen the writing on the wall. That trade really aligns with the direction his team's headed. So proud of Ray for making a smart trade. I think he maybe could have got a little more for Henry, but with Walker going down, Charbonnet getting a chance to shine, I'll turn it up Ray.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the Charbonnet numbers now. I mean, I haven't really watched a lot of football lately. Like the past 2 weeks, I've kind of been slacking on that. But I was aware that Charb's got the start, wasn't it? He got the start against the Niners, wasn't it? That was his first start.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it's a tough matchup. I don't know what's going on with Walker just right now, but how soon he's coming back. But I mean, it's hard to acquire running backs at any stage in their career. So to get a rookie, young one, high draft capital, shitty situation for sure, but it's a decent return.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't fault that. Yeah, not bad. Next trade up that we're gonna mention is Najee Harris got shipped off for Jerry Jeudy, which at the time was like, let's swap our pieces of garbage. But apparently Matt Canada was holding absolutely everyone back on that offense because Najee Harris looked actually pretty damn good and powerful running this last week.
Hey, is he back? Is he a thing again? I don't know. He looked decent.
Yeah, I think there you always get that kind of positive boost when there's
coaching change.
When Josh McDaniels got fired. It's just like people are it's like there's a weight off their shoulders. They're a little excited again. It's like when you have a buddy who's in a bad relationship, dating a girl you hate, and they break up, and you see him after, and it's like it's got a little life back in his eyes. I feel
he's got a little bit of jump.
Yeah, I feel like that was the entire Steelers offense. I think it's too early to claim that Najee is back, but I did find his decline kind of shocking. So that might have been a great buy low for Brock there. And then here's the trade I really wanted to go back and talk about. Your boy, Josh Dobbs, shipped him off for a first round pick. Now with caveats, you did send back a second round pick. And a third rounder in 2025. And that could be an early third rounder. We'll see how the rebuild goes a lot of time before now and then.
Yeah, I mean, we could be competing and then rebuilding and competing and rebuilding by then. You never know.
Exactly. It's, with you, who knows? But your boy, the Pasternaut, you managed to essentially get a first round pick out of it. More of a pick swap, like a second for a first, but still a lot of good value there, especially the way this league values first. And your boy, the Pasternaut, he's crashed back to earth. The shuttle hit an
Ground
asteroid.
control the major astronaut.
Yeah, you
Like,
just got absolutely mauled by a bear.
it's true, yeah. They're not supposed to be in space.
No,
So
no.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but he lost all his good mojo when he left me.
I think what happened is Walkie Talkie Die Hard, he was talking all that shit about Dobbs and your Dobbs take, as were a lot of us, myself included, uh, then went and paid the iron price for him. And now he's reaped his just desserts. A lot of irony in there. I love it. In all honesty, though, I think Dobbs is what he is. He's just a backup. He's been turnover prone this season. I think he has
Yeah.
almost as many turnovers as he does touchdowns, both even if you include his rushing touchdowns, if you throw in his fumbles, it's about a 1-for-1 ratio. And for real life quarterbacking, I mean, you
It's
look
not
at the
great.
record throughout the year, he's got what, one, or he's got like 4 wins out
Something
of
like
all his
that.
five
Yeah. It's
across
like
the two teams.
it's not ideal, but I mean, like, fortunately for us, we're not playing real football. We're just playing fantasy football, and his ground game is incredibly useful. So I mean, I still think I think he's gonna see out the season. I don't think he's gonna get benched.
Um, I'm not so sure, man. Jaron Hall looked kind of good. Um, before he got a concussion. Nick Mullins has been there and knows the system. Kevin O'Connell was preaching ball security, not having
Yeah.
turnovers, and your boy went out there and had 4 of them. Probably could have had like 6. One of the Bears cornerbacks dropped a pick six that was thrown right at him. Um, it's the ball
Hopefully
security
Bears
has
in them.
been shocking. Uh, in fairness, though, Bears defense since we got Montez Sweat the last 2 weeks actually looked pretty good. Um,
Yeah, you guys are hopefully turning it around. I know, like, we've obviously been friends for a long time, and I don't think I've ever really seen you have anything to celebrate during our friendship period as a Bears fan.
Still not celebrating yet,
I'm sure you're not. You got no reason
but
to just yet.
but it is nice to see the defense look kind of good. Yeah, without getting too sidetracked on my Bears, another trade, and guess who else was involved in this trade?
Is it me?
It is you.
It's always
Um,
me.
Another QB trade. This time, you shipping out Trevor Lawrence in a second for Bryce Young, a first and a second. So, it's 226 seconds
Pick
with about
swap.
2 playoff teams. That's, you can chalk that up as to, yeah, a pick swap that I think will only be a couple spots difference in value by the end of it. So essentially, it's Trevor Lawrence for Bryce Young and a first. Walk us through your process on the trade.
Well, I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been shitting the bed essentially all season. So,
Until you traded
I
him.
don't know. Sorry?
Until you traded him.
Well, that's the thing. So, trade him away, and then he decides to have the best game he's had in, I think, a full calendar year plus, something like that. It's been a long fucking time. So, yeah, I don't know. Just took a re-roll and picked up a first on a quarterback. Really was my logic behind it. And now Carolina has fired their head coach, who I don't know. I think that was too early, but I just fear that Bryce Young might be getting put through the ringer, like a la Baker Mayfield kind of thing.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, same kind of thing. And it's just like, is he ever gonna, have like a stable situation during his rookie contract? I don't think so. Like, not at this rate. It's hard to see it.
I think he'll be a late bloomer. As a Bears fan, I've been getting a lot of joy watching the Panthers just basically hand us the one pick. That trade looks better and better by the day. Um,
Yeah,
if anything's going to save Ryan Poles' job, it's this trade. The fact that
probably. Yeah.
I think Ryan Poles has done a fine job, but yeah, Bryce Young. I'm hearing a lot of the same things a lot of Bears fans said in defense of Justin Fields. Well, bad O line. There's no weapons. The coaching's horrible, and yeah, it's tough to fix that, especially when you've traded away your best receiver, and now you don't have a first round pick, and you're missing a second round pick the year after that. It's there's nothing they can do in this draft and free agency that's probably going to fix absolutely all their holes. There's still going to be
Absolutely not.
issues. Um, on the plus side, their defense isn't as in bad a shape as where the Bears was coming into this. If they're smart, I think they're going to try and trade Burns, get some more draft capital to
Yeah.
try and shore up that O line and get some weapons there for him. But yeah, I think it could be a bit of a rocky road for Bryce Young here. But there's obviously some skill there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and like the funny part is like coming out of college, his like biggest pro on him was his like ability to read the game, and he was like pro ready, like as a processor. But I mean, you haven't seen it because like the routes that they're running in Carolina are shit. He's a timing thrower, right? He's not like a power thrower.
No,
So like it's gonna take some time.
it's definitely not fair to label him a bust yet, but
Yeah, it's way too early.
it's also fair to say that, you know, the situation aside and everything, he does not really look like a good NFL quarterback.
No, I'll agree with you.
There's been some moments, some flashes, but he doesn't have, tremendous arm strength. He's not really much of a scrambler or a runner. He
Yeah.
doesn't do well under pressure and can now operate out of a unclean pocket. And his team and situations doing him no favors, but he's not done anything to show that he's able to elevate subpar talent, which is something you want out of your franchise guy. I think
100%. Just to tack on one more part there as well, like I saw somebody online talking about how Trevor Lawrence was the same thing in his rookie year, but I disagree. At least Trevor Lawrence like showed some traits where you're like, oh fuck, like this guy can do it
yeah,
if they figure it out a little bit more. And he showed that his second season, like last year. But like it's hard to say at like this point. If I don't honestly think we'll see it out of Bryce. I don't think he's gonna be that great ever, really. Like I was never too high on him.
yeah. No, yeah, agreed. On the Trevor Lawrence side, yeah, I own him in another Superflex league. Um, been pretty disappointed in him. He's started to turn it on as of late. And as I recall last year, it was kind of the same ride where it was starting to be that, oh, is Trevor Lawrence not that guy? Is he going to be a bit of a bust? And then he started to kind of turn it on towards the end of the season again. And
Yeah,
was probably winning people weeks in fantasy leagues and was certainly winning games. I think they ended the season on like a 7-game win streak and then went and won a road playoff game.
yeah, and the Chargers game, that was the craziest fucking playoff game I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and then they've been winning this year, but it hasn't been because Trevor Lawrence has been spectacular. He's done what he's needed to do to get them the wins in real life.
Yeah.
But these last 2 weeks have been a little Lawrence renaissance and a Trevisance, if you will. And
A Renaissance? Renaissance? I
yeah,
don't
I was,
fucking,
I was,
it's,
I was
I'm
trying to
reaching.
go there, and yeah.
I'm
Um,
reaching.
Anyways, I see why both people made this trade. I do want to point out that I'm pretty sure, didn't you trade for Trevor Lawrence from Cam so he could get the pick to draft Bryce Young?
I think it was so he could get the pick to draft CJ Stroud.
Okay.
Which hurts even more because the shitty part is, and it's easy to fucking hindsight this, but legitimately all through the process last year when I was like doing my like scouting on who I wanted to draft, I was a CJ Stroud guy the whole time. And I wanted to take him, but I don't know, I just thought it'd be a shitty situation in Houston, and that guy, for all the bullshit I've been speaking about Josh Dobbs being him, CJ Stroud is fucking him. He is the shit.
Yeah, no, CJ Stroud looks good. And I think it's funny. There's a lot of people obviously comparing Stroud and Bryce. They went 1 and 2.
Easy to
Um,
do.
yeah. And everyone's saying, oh, well, he's got such a better O line and like better coaches and better skill positions and better weapons. At the start of the season, ain't nobody was saying that. You were looking, you were like, oh, they've got an old veteran, Robert Woods, which the Panthers had in Adam Thielen. They had, a middling late draft pick who hadn't shown much in Nico Collins versus the same thing with Terrace Marshall, and they had like a day 3 rookie in Tank Dell versus Jonathan Mingo. It's not like they had a veteran retread at tight end. They've got a lot of people thought the Sanders running back room was better than the Pierce running back room.
Oh, 100%.
And that O-line was banged up and supposed to be absolute horseshit. DeMeco Ryans, first time head coach, and isn't he a defensive guy too?
Reportedly, doesn't look like it.
Yeah. So just looking at the start of the season, everyone's like, "Oh, well, his situation's so much better." It's like, well, at the start of the season, it was pretty comparable, and I know that the skill weapons have ended up being way better. Tank Dell's been a blessing in disguise. I super regret him.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. Anyways, just wanted to point that out, that the Lawrence or the Stroud Young situation things on more of a real life perspective. I just thought it's funny that there's those similarities there.
I mean,
like to look past now.
The only advantage preseason on like the depth chart was Houston having Dalton Schultz over Hayden Hurst. That's it, though.
Yep. And, obviously the season's borne different fruit. For sure, I think Bryce would be doing better if he was in the Houston situation.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Stroud wouldn't be doing nearly as good as he is in Carolina.
I still think Stroud would be doing better in Carolina than Bryce has done, though.
100%. Yeah. I think it's undeniable that he's the better player.
Yeah.
At least that's what the returns have shown. We spent a lot of time on that one, but
we did.
I love talking that shit.
This is going to be a longer one. We did say that.
Yeah, fucking crack into that next beer.
I should grab another one. I'll give it a minute. I still got like a half can here.
Okay, so we'll move on from that trade. Honestly, my thoughts on it, I totally see what you did. You went for the re-roll the way Lawrence was playing. Can't say I blame you. And for Cam, I mean, I would make that trade. I like that side a little bit better from him, but obviously they're heading in different directions right now. So I'm not going to slag you off too hard for that one. Although
I'm sure there'll be more that you can.
I think you probably could have got a little bit better value from him. And I also do love when a player gets traded to someone who had traded them before. It's even better when it was like between the original trade partners. I always love that. I'm not going to do it now, but we could go back and look at like everything that was exchanged.
Let's move on to the next one. We are eating a lot of time on this guy.
Yeah. Okay. We got Ryan Tannehill for Desmond Ridder. I think at the time the trade was made, Heineke was maybe still starting. From this one, I don't think either of these guys are starters after this year. So it's like a backup for a backup. From Brock's perspective, I think I'd prefer to have the younger Ridder than the older Tannehill.
This one baffled me. Like, I was surprised he traded away Ridder, who's in his second season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's still a chance he bounces around as a backup for a number of years. I mean, Tannehill's got maybe a year or two left. Like, he looks fucking done.
No, I don't think Tannehill is ever a starter for a team again.
I don't think he
never starts again. But
don't get me wrong, I don't think he's a starter. Like, I think he'll be a backup somewhere for a year or two, if that.
Yeah, he's probably looking into TV contracts right now.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, look at it now. Ridder's back to being the starter, and I mean, he's been serviceable in Superflex just because of his threat on the ground in the red zone. But he is a guy who turns the ball over a lot. I wouldn't want either of those guys as real life or fantasy options on my team.
No, they're both low end quarterback twos, like that. Like
nice bit of business for Logan as he's added another starter at a position he definitely needed. Because Tannehill was dog shit and couldn't be started. Kenny Pickett's pretty dog shit. He might be doing better now with out Matt Canada eliminating him though.
Blame Canada.
Yeah, good on him. And then another trade involving you again. This was
Shocking.
a big one, a bit of a blockbuster here. Going back to the well with the Stingrays, he liked his price on Trevor Lawrence, and he thought he'd go get him some AJ Brown. Um,
Good.
we see Cam give up on his favorite team RB there, probably one of his favorite players, Nick Chubb. We did see him release a nice little press statement about that. Just to go over,
Heartwarming.
the trade was Nick Chubb and Garrett Wilson going to you, with Cam getting AJ Brown and a 2025 second. Bobby Digital figures to probably be a mid second. Way too early to tell what's 2025 is going to hold. Um, yeah, overall, love this trade for Cam. Hate it for you. I think you sold super low.
Fair enough. This goes back to the re-roll theory of getting younger, and yeah, I agree with you. I probably could have got way more for AJ Brown. I don't know. I do like Wilson a lot, especially as a sophomore receiver. Like, I think he's outscored AJ Brown since that trade. Don't quote me
Uh,
on that, but I think so.
yeah, that might be a thing. AJ Brown did have a kind of dud game this week.
Wilson had negative points last week. Like, he still outscored him.
Yeah. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Wilson is a guy who figures to be wide receiver one once he gets some stability at quarterback in his career. You can already see the flashes. I do think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be good. I get that he's younger and helps your timeline a little bit better. I just would have liked to see you pick up a little something extra on top of that, because I think Garrett Wilson's top range of outcomes is becoming AJ Brown.
Yeah, fair enough. I get where you're coming from.
Like, if he was a perennial top 5 wide receiver, that would be great. Um, and he's got Aaron Rodgers next year,
Maybe.
maybe, if he stays healthy. And then who knows what's happening after that, what the Jets are going to do at QB. It's not a franchise I want to trust with figuring things out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I don't know. I think I panic traded him there. Like, it kind of developed quickly, and I just kind of jumped into it, and should have
Yeah.
probably took more time on that.
Yeah. I think it also hurts a little bit to give up a second um, when you're giving up the best player in the trade. The Nick Chubb piece of it, maybe he comes back healthy, and we've all kind of undervalued him in this trade. I think a lot of us who are not fans of the trade on your side are looking at his age and thinking, coming off that injury, there's a chance that he's, a guy that's going to be hard for you to move for any kind of real value in the future. But I mean, if he comes back and looks good, you might have an RB you can ship off for a decent price there. So maybe we need to give you a little more credit, or look at that in a
Yeah.
bit of a different lens. But
Yeah, I don't know. There's like different schools of thought on it. Like, he could, well, like one thing I think about when I look at him on my roster is I'm like, this dude was previously unattainable. Like, you couldn't get him. Not from Cam when he was healthy. Like, impossible. Like, obviously his knee getting absolutely fucking destroyed is not great, but I mean, that dude, like, when he's healthy, he's easily the best, like, on the ground pure runner in the game right now.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
right this second, but you know what I mean.
no, he's definitely up there. I think Bijan might have a real chance to take that title from him, but
Definitely.
Chubb's,
But
yeah, when he's healthy, he's been great. The issue has been that he's a guy that's hurt almost every year. Although,
yeah,
watching the way Brees Hall and even Javonte Williams to an extent have come back from the knee injuries, um, they're not like they're not as much of like a death sentence, or like, oh, they'll never come back and be what they were ever
yeah,
again. Those guys are a lot younger than Chubb, with a lot less injuries already. But
yeah,
it does, I think the way people see these RBs coming off those injuries and how fast and how well some of them are coming back. Maybe some more consideration needs to be given to that. But I get where you're coming from.
But I see it